This is Radio Taiwan International.
Welcome to the news on Radio Taiwan International. I'm Phil Eskowski coming to you from Taipei, Taiwan. We begin with a look at today's top stories for Thursday, August the 7th. TSMC to address alleged 2nm tech leak at board meeting. Taiwan approves 1.87 billion special budget for flood recovery. And CCP makes students monitor and suppress classroom discussions in UK. But first, today's top story. Taiwan Semiconductor manufacturing company known as TSMC will address an alleged leak of its advanced 2nm chip technology at its next board meeting, according to Paul Liu, Minister and Deputy Minister of the National Development Council and TSMC Corporate Director. The incident involves a former employee of Tokyo Electron's Taiwan subsidiary who allegedly leaked sensitive manufacturing processes. Liu told lawmakers Thursday that prosecutors at the National Science and Technology Council are investigating the case to determine the motives and objectives behind the alleged leak. Tokyo Electron Taiwan, known as TEL, announced it had terminated the employee involved in the suspected technology theft. The Japanese semiconductor equipment manufacturer issued a statement confirming disciplinary action against the former worker. Democratic Progressive Party legislator Chiu Zhiwei questioned whether the leak would impact Taiwan-Japan semiconductor cooperation. Liu emphasized that the leak investigation and TSMC's Japan investments are separate matters, noting that the semiconductor collaboration involves multiple countries with different strengths. He said Taiwan leads in manufacturing, while Japan excels in specialty chemicals and the US dominates other areas. Liu outlined Taiwan's strategy to strengthen industrial resilience through breakthroughs in specialty chemicals and equipment manufacturing. The government aims to achieve over 80% self-sufficiency in semiconductor equipment production to enhance supply chain stability. He stressed this approach would boost both industrial competitiveness and economic development while reducing external dependencies. Taiwan's cabinet approved a special 56 billion NT dollars, around 1.87 billion US dollars recovery bill on Thursday to rebuild areas devastated by Typhoon Danas and severe flooding in late July. The disasters caused extensive flooding across central and southern Taiwan, prompting the government to implement its largest disaster relief package in recent years. Premier Zhou Rongtai emphasized that the government would take the swiftest and most comprehensive action to help victims rebuild their homes and restore normal life. Cabinet spokesperson Li Huiqi said the premier instructed agencies to prioritize rapid assistance for affected communities. The special budget will be allocated in phases across multiple government departments. The recovery plan targets 9 key areas, including agricultural facilities, power systems, telecommunication infrastructures, water and gas utilities, housing and public facilities, water conservancy, transportation, environmental restoration, as well as social and economic recovery. The legislation takes effect immediately and remains in effect through December 31, 2027, with the possibility of legislative extensions. Preliminary damage assessments show 43,000 homes damaged, nearly 2,500 power poles destroyed, and over 1,300 communication base stations damaged. Zhuo urged swift legislative approval after meeting with Legislative Speaker Han Kuo-yu, who promised to expedite the bill's passage. The premier noted that the long-term reconstruction presents greater challenges than emergency repairs. As the CCP ramps up surveillance on and by Chinese students studying overseas, the UK implements new regulations to strengthen universities' responsibilities for safeguarding economic freedom and freedom of expression.
Chinese students studying at universities in the UK are pressured by Chinese officials to monitor fellow students and suppress classroom discussions that are politically sensitive to the CCP, according to the BBC and British think tank UK-China Transparency. Earlier this week, BBC News Chinese reported that several scholars in Chinese studies programs received warnings from Chinese officials to avoid discussing sensitive topics in class, including those pertaining to human rights in Xinjiang, the origins of the COVID-19 virus, and technological surveillance. Chinese students had also confided in professors that they had been pressured by Chinese officials to monitor their classmates, particularly those who express views on sensitive issues and report back on comments made in class. Students' families in China have been harassed and threatened due to the nature of their work, according to the report. Some have also had their visas denied by the CCP, preventing them from returning, severely impacting their academic and professional careers. The tactics aren't limited to those of Chinese officials, however, as students have reported being intimidated by visiting scholars and Confucius Institute staff as well. With 20 branches in England, the CCP-funded Confucius Institute has come under close watch for alleged attempts to interfere with the content of campus lectures. As some universities rely on the substantial tuition from overseas Chinese students, institutions tend to avoid controversy when addressing politically sensitive issues involving China, according to the think tank's investigative report. Just last week, the British government implemented new regulations to strengthen universities' responsibilities for safeguarding academic freedom and freedom of expression. Under the new law, universities must proactively review collaborations with all foreign institutions to determine whether or not they undermine students' freedoms on campus. Institutions not in compliance may face significant fines. UK Minister of State for Skills Jackie Smith says any foreign attempt to intimidate, harass, or influence academic freedom will not be tolerated, and stressed that the government is working closely with the Office for Students to ensure universities protect freedom of speech. Tristan Hildebrand for RTI News.
U.S. President Donald Trump announced early Thursday Taiwan time that he plans to impose a 100% tariff on all semiconductors entering the United States. He added that the tariff would not apply to companies that have committed to building or are already building factories in the U.S., citing Taiwan semiconductor manufacturing companies' pledge to invest $200 billion. Markets took this as a signal that TSMC would be exempt from the proposed tariffs. The company's stock soared to a record high, helping push the Taiwan Stock Exchange Index up more than 600 points, with gains approaching 3%. In response, National Development Council Minister and Deputy Minister Paul Leo briefed lawmakers at a Legislature Economics Committee meeting. He outlined 3 strategies companies are currently pursuing: building their own U.S. fabs, like TSMC, acquiring American manufacturing facilities, such as GlobalWafers' purchase of a Texas plant, or partnering with U.S. firms like Intel, as UMC has done. Leo, who also serves as a TSMC board representative, noted that Taiwan's chip exports to U.S., excluding TSMC, amount to under $6 billion annually, or roughly 1.12% of Taiwan's total exports, suggesting the impact of the proposed tariffs may be limited.
We've had many discussions with industry players, and the main takeaway from a competitive standpoint is that if we're hit with a 100% tariff, but our competitors are also hit with 100%, then we're essentially on a level playing field. Based on our interviews, most Taiwanese companies feel that since everyone is starting from the same position, there's not a significant competitive disadvantage.
Lawmakers from the ruling Democratic Progressive Party welcome TSMC's U.S. expansion, saying it would strengthen bilateral supply chain cooperation. Meanwhile, opposition Kuomintang legislators voiced concerns that Taiwan's semiconductor industry could face long-term erosion. Taiwan made history on Wednesday by making its official debut at Hiroshima's 80th annual Peace Memorial Ceremony, held to commemorate the victims of the 1945 atomic bombing. The ambassador of Taiwan to Japan, Li Yiyang, represented Taiwan at the Hiroshima's Peace Memorial Ceremony on Wednesday, marking a significant milestone in Taiwan-Japan relations and in regional efforts to promote peace. The ceremony, hosted by the Hiroshima city government at the Peace Memorial Park, began at 8 a.m. local time. It attracted representatives from 120 countries, including the European Union, with more than 55,000 attendees, a record high since the event's inception in 1947. Several prominent Japanese politicians also participated in the ceremony, including Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba, Foreign Minister of Japan Takeshi Iwaya, former Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, Constitutional Democratic Party leader Yoshihiko Noda, and Democratic Party for the People leader Yuichiro Tamaki, among others. Tamaki, who recently visited Taiwan and met with President Lai Ching-te, welcomed Taiwan's meaningful attendance at the event and offered his condolences to everyone affected by the latest typhoon disaster. "I hope we can work together to contribute to peace." August 6th is a significant date for remembering the atomic bombing of Hiroshima. As the only country to have suffered nuclear wartime attacks, Tamaki noted Japan's duty to guide both nuclear and non-nuclear states towards collective peace and stability. He says this strategy must never be repeated, and the memory of the atomic bomb should be a shared lesson for all humanity. Thanks for joining me for the news. I'm Phil Laskowski. Stay tuned for another 50 minutes of English language features brought to you by Radio Taiwan International.